Hi, my name is. That's right, people. Welcome back to another live stream here on TA with K. My name, of course, is and always will be, until further notice at least, McKay. Welcome everybody to the live stream. Rigo, what's up, brother? I see you're here. Did you guys like that little Slim Shady intro? I know Eminem just put out a new song here recently, so in the spirit of Eminem, I had to at least do an intro with some Eminem in it. I'm a 90s boy. I grew up listening to that kind of music, so I'm old school loving Eminem. And this new song is actually not too bad. The song is, okay, I take that back. The new song is very average in my opinion. It's catchy, but it's average. It's the video. The video is stellar. So if you guys haven't watched that, you know, obviously I'm not sponsored by Eminem. That would be freaking sweet if I was. But I would recommend looking up, I believe it's called Houdini. Look up that YouTube video if you like Eminem or don't mind him and you haven't watched it yet. It's pretty good. So who all we got in the house? We got Rigo's here. Obviously Joe, I believe, is here. Dave P, brother, how are you doing? I'm lurking. Hey Joe, he's lurking. Well, at least you're not twerking, right? You're just lurking. Good to have you guys here. We'll spend just a minute kind of letting people come in, maybe do a little what Joe calls story time. I'll call it probably talking too much and nobody wants to hear me time. In the chat, tell me what you guys do for a living, out of curiosity. So I do work a full-time job. Actually, for like 15, 16 years, I did security systems for a company called Vivint, actually. They have door-to-door sales guys. I didn't do that part of it. I'm not a salesman at all. I'm a technician, so I actually managed installers for that company. Quit that a couple years back, right after a couple years after the whole last bull run, really. About 2022, I want to say, is when I last did that job. And I'm actually working at a place with my brother-in-law now that builds, it's called airport lighting or air something lighting. And they actually build these cans that we put down in runways at airports for the lights. We don't do the electrical side of it. We just build the actual, I guess you'd call it the housing. So just the can, and it goes down and they pour concrete in there. They put all the electrical stuff and the runway lights. So it's kind of an interesting job, but it's definitely just factory work at the end of the day. So kind of get to sit there and think about, you know, Bitcoin and different things and wish that I was home. But hey, you got to work, got to pay the bills, which we'll all be doing here soon once we get to the next phase of the bull run. A builder from London. Okay, at first I thought you said you built London. I was about to say, holy crap, that is good. So builder from London, old Grant Spelling. I actually think I know someone with the last name Spelling around here. It might be Speller actually or something like that. I'm an RN, registered nurse. That's awesome. That's awesome. Still have my license, but haven't used it in about 4. Yeah, because you're full-time. Aren't you full-time crypto pretty much, Joe? How long? And if so, how long have you been full-time crypto? Now, if there's anybody new in the chat that wasn't in 2 days ago's live stream, Joe is a good friend of mine. He also has a YouTube channel. He streams every single day, at least once, sometimes twice, I think. But we'll just commit him to once because I'm not sure. I don't want to misspeak, and he can correct me in the chat. But he does his streams. I want to say closer to like probably 3 or 2:30 Eastern time, something like that, right, Joe? So definitely subscribe to his channel. Joe is very knowledgeable, and he's been in the space for a while, quite a while. Full-time crypto, about 3 years. That's awesome. I was full-time for a little bit last bull run. I was able to take a lot of my gains and pay off some bills and different things that I'd had, you know, that had been building up over the years. So that's kind of what a lot of my gains went to, was just debt, essentially. And then I took almost 3 years off of work just to chill. And then during the bear market, I decided I better go back to work. The savings account was getting to a point where I'm like, I better build that back up, especially if I want to have capital, you know, more capital, let's say, to put into this next bull run. 3 p.m. Eastern time for Joe. So keep that in mind, guys. He does his live streams. Go ahead and subscribe to his channel. And at 3 p.m., I always miss it because I'm working. I actually caught one of his streams one day on my lunch break, which is only a 30-minute lunch break. So I caught about 20 minutes of it, and it was really good. And so it sounds like he does it at 3 p.m. Eastern time. Definitely subscribe to that. Also, just over in my Telegram group, I thought for a second this was actually the YouTube chat, so I apologize. But one of our members in my Telegram group. Now, if you want to join that, there's a link in every description or in the description of every one of these live streams that I do. It's free. It's just got 50, 60 members in it. Probably only about 10 to 12 that actually are somewhat active on a consistent basis, but we're building that up. We just chat about crypto and life stuff. But one of the guys in my group, actually, when I mentioned I was getting ready to go live a little bit ago, he said he was floating on a river. So I asked him which river, and I'm guessing he answered that. He says the OCOEE. Now, I don't know where that's at. He could probably, Casper is his name, his online name anyway. He could probably answer that for me. I had asked if he was on the Snake River. The Snake River actually runs through quite a few parts of the left, the western side of the United States, but I live in Idaho, and that's the river that's nearest to us is actually the Snake River. So anyway, hope everybody's doing good today. We'll go ahead and kind of get started on things. I don't want to pretend this is going to be the most exciting stream you've ever watched. Well, I take that back. This will be the best stream of your life. So you're going to want to hit that like, hit the subscribe if you aren't already. And what does Joe always say? Smash the like. Sorry, smash that like. Don't just hit it, smack it. Like it's a red-headed stepchild. I don't think I'm supposed to say that, but hey. Okay, so the topics we've got on the agenda for today. We're going to kind of briefly touch on Bitcoin, the S&P 500, the DXY. I used to do daily videos. Not daily, but I used to put out at least 2 to 3 videos a week. And that's all I really do in those videos was just market updates. We'd look at those charts. And, some channels, that's all they ever do. And that's they're valuable, especially if they know what they're talking about. I got kind of bored of doing those, so I just occasionally put those out now. But we're going to kind of, touch base on those charts. We're also going to talk about I believe it was from 2 days ago, right? Or was it just yesterday? Someone correct me in the chat here. But the CPI data, PPI, a bunch of that stuff from the FOMC meeting came out. And then we're just going to talk about a fear of greed index for those of you that maybe never seen that index before, something that we use sometimes in crypto to get a gauge as to what the overall sentiment in the market is, to kind of decide if maybe it's overheated, oversold, etc., maybe right where it should be. And then to end today's stream, we're going to talk a little bit about Ethereum using my formula. We're going to come up with, so I've been making these videos, for those of you that are new to my channel, where I just take some of the top 100 coins, a few of them that are outside of that as well. But what I've been doing is applying that formula to come up with price projections. We'll talk a little bit about it, so I won't go into the whole detail now. But I haven't done Ethereum at all. I usually just pick a coin. I gave a Bitcoin price prediction videos. I put 1 or 2 of those out 2-3 months ago. That's where I started. And then from there, I just started making videos about, DOT and Cardano and Link and Litecoin and so on and so forth. And I think I've made about 30 of them, at least at this point. I shouldn't say at least, but probably roughly 25 to 30. So I've got a lot of coins still to cover in the top 100, but I kind of chose the main ones so far. But I would like to kind of apply that formula for you guys today to Ethereum, see what we can come up with there. So hopefully that all sounds good to you guys. And if it does, please remember again to like and subscribe. And I'm going to go ahead and try out this new little thing that I got here. Let's go ahead and boom, we are on the Bitcoin SPX and the DXY. So let's hop over here. Sorry about that. Let me get that off the screen. That's a camera of myself. So you're seeing me twice, basically, right there for a second. I use this program called IV Cam in order to broadcast my phone as my camera. And I just forgot to minimize it, so sorry about that. So here we are on the Bitcoin. This is the actual daily chart. Now, Bitcoin, of course, after the the news of the CPI and PPI and all that stuff came out, it looks like the market actually had rallied briefly. And I had actually on my last stream, which was 2 nights ago, like I said, or 2 days ago, I had mentioned when we were up, I don't remember exactly where we were, but we were pulling back a little bit. And I said, it's a good chance we're probably going to see a small, probably was this one right here, actually. Let's zoom in a little bit. Had to be this one because it was just 2 days ago, right? We were down here hanging out around 66K. And I said, I do believe that it will probably bounce after that meeting, because usually whatever direction it's going prior to the meeting, it does the opposite afterwards, but doesn't mean it's going to be sustained. It really would come down to what the actual news was. I feel like no matter what the news is, it just does the opposite, at least briefly, probably to flush people out or do whatever it does. And now we're back at that same support that we talked about. Let me zoom in a little further too, because I do realize that a lot of you are probably on your phones and it's hard to see what the heck I'm showing you here. But we've just been inside this range. Basically, we broke into this range towards the end of February. So we've been in here for 3-4 months, and we've just been touching the top, touching the bottom, touching the top. Now, of course, I have these red boxes above price actions representing our overhead resistance zone. One of these days I'll do a live stream where I'll kind of show how I make up my charts, but typically we look at resistance and support as not an exact price, but more of a zone. And so we have this zone that ranges from basically the new all-time high that it put in back on March 14th, which would have been, looks like about 70, just under 74K. And then we have the bottom side of this zone where we keep seeing these candle wicks up above, but the bodies are having a hard time closing. And that's basically somewhere around 71,600. That's the top side of our zone. And then the bottom side, of course, down here. And it's not going to be perfect. Even my zone could be budged a little bit up, down, left, right, whatever. But, we're just trying to get an idea of whenever price enters this area, which we would call support in this case. If it breaks down, we might look at it to see if we're going to possibly look at it as a buy the dip opportunity. Now let's look real quick at chat. This looks like Joe says, love the topic highlight. Nice touch. Yeah, you could kind of tell since you've been coming to my last couple streams, that's been an ongoing trying to make it look good. I keep tweaking things each night, in preparation for my next stream. I think I like that too. It's out of the way. I really liked the concept of the whole showing what topics we're going over, but I did not like how it was basically occupying this whole top left side of the screen. Sometimes when I'm showing you guys things, there's going to be stuff there, and it just gets kind of, annoying. So at any rate, so what we would talked about on the last one that I think still has a very high possibility of coming to fruition would be this double top, which would be price action getting rejected twice at the same area or very, very close to the same price, which was around 71,500, right, guys? And then you have the bottom side of the double top, which would be the area that this bounced from, right? So it gets rejected, it comes down, bounces, gets rejected. Some people call it an M pattern. There's a lot of things you can call it. Twin Peaks. I think I might have made that up. I don't know if actually people call it Twin Peaks, but you can call it whatever you want. But at the end of the day, it is a potentially bearish pattern if this breaks down. I'm on the daily, so you'd want to see a daily candle close below it. Then you'd want to see a retest with a body that's not able to close back above it, which would then confirm, at least in the short term, that we would maybe have a double top. Now, of course, there's always going to be bear traps, bull traps in play. You might see a breakdown, maybe it goes down $1,000 or something, and then it just recovers really quickly, right? And we're going to talk a little bit about that too today based on some of that information that came out. Whether or not that's bullish, bearish, or neutral. I'll just be giving my opinion and kind of look into the chat to see what you guys think. I can't say that I am an I took economy, or what do you call it, in school, of course, but I didn't listen, and I don't pretend to be a master at that kind of stuff. So we talk about it, we know the basics, but I would be lying if I told you that I understand exactly what the repercussions or the, what will happen based off those reports. I can tell you if it's very, very bearish, things are probably going to go down. If it's very, very bullish, it's going to go up. But sometimes it's somewhere in between, and the market just reacts how it reacts in the short term, and then, we ultimately the charts, the TA takes over, right? So that's kind of what we're looking at in my mind, is hopefully for TA to play its way out and not necessarily to be something related to that FOMC meeting. And if that's the case, then if we see that breakdown I talked about, you can get a measured move, which is going to be pretty much just the bottom side of this range. But you can take the length of the double top. This would be kind of like the neckline down here. You can put this here and say, okay, if this breaks down somewhere around that price, you're looking at somewhere back down around 62, and most likely if it's going to go down to there, it's just going to visit this green box. It's going to touch down here somewhere, and then you just wait to see if it's going to break that support. Really what we're waiting for right now is the next big move in the market, right? And so we can make some trades. We either want to short potentially, if you're a leverage trader, a bigger breakdown, or maybe you want to bounce another, trade another bounce at this support. What would really be nice, and I think we're probably at least a month or two away from seeing this, but what would really be nice would be either a breakdown, and maybe we can get some awesome new altcoin prices. Somewhere Bitcoin maybe goes back down to 53K or something like that, like we discussed in the last video. or obviously the breakout where we begin that last, the next leg up in the bull run. If you ask me today what I think is more likely, I wouldn't give you an answer because I really don't think that I would be right anyways. We just need to wait and see what it does. It's range bound until proven otherwise, right? We've literally seen 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rejections, which the more times something gets rejected, you could look at it one of two ways. You could say, hey, it's getting weaker potentially. Eventually we're going to break through it, and you might be right. Or you could look at it as, hey, there's just a lot of sell pressure there, and maybe the market needs a flush. So which way will it go? That is yet to be determined, but we'll definitely discuss that in the next few live streams. Let's see. Rat Rigo. BTC drops below 60. Twitter FUD gonna be the world's gonna end. That's what we discussed in the last live stream, actually. You I believe asked my opinion on that, and I agree. I do think that that would be a good thing, though, in some ways. If you're okay with the bull run extending out like it should, naturally, and maybe wanting to invest a little more. I know some guys have all of their allotted capital already, allocated to whatever coins. In that case, you're just playing the waiting game, and that's fine. You just have to be patient and wait, basically. That's the point of the waiting game. But there's some people like myself who don't have as much exposure as I'd actually like. And I feel like because I maybe didn't get as much as exposure as I should have down below this range, that I either A, want to see the breakdown for lower prices, or B, I would almost rather see the break up. I realize that you're going to get higher prices if it breaks up, but if it can confirm it, then, I just know we're in the next leg of the bull run at that point. And it gives us more of a clear direction. Let's put it that way. Right now, we're in what I like to refer to as no man's land. I don't know if Joe would call it something like that. But that's something that I call it whenever we're ranging like this in an area where you don't know if you're really bullish or bearish. It's bullish that it's held up so far. But it hasn't broken out. So let's go ahead and hop over to the SPX real quick as well. And I just wanted to kind of go over that chart again, just more or less give the update of the target that we've been eyeing. We'll zoom in. We won't give a lot of TA on this chart. Just wanted to give an update that we've been eyeing this zone above us that I had put as short-term targets for the S&P 500. We based that off of a couple different targets. We used a fib pull, which I can go ahead and show that real quick just so you at least know what I'm talking about if you weren't part of the last stream. I just took this high down to that low. I believe is where I did. No, that's not what I did. Hold on. Sorry, guys. We did it more of just the short term. This high to that low, I believe. Nope. It was the other one. Something's not lining up quite like it was last time, though, unless I bump my chart. You ever do that, Joe? Do you ever bump your charts and then you go to look at them the next time and you're like, what is going on? Yeah. Well, at any rate, we're actually hitting the 2618 from that little pullback right there. We'll stick with what I got up here, though. I don't think I bumped anything. We have a zone here, though. The bottom side of it's right around 5,500 up onto 5,672. And that's just kind of been a short-term area that we've been eyeing as potentially where this little stock market rally ends, or at least consolidates some more. And again, no man's land, waiting to see if it breaks above that and continues to put in more highs. The S&P 500 has literally been on fire basically since October of the end of last year. So at some point, you got to think, could it have a bigger pullback? And if it does, of course, crypto doesn't always follow. But if it's a large enough pullback, then you have to assume crypto will follow. And that was where the DXY kind of ties in. For those of you that are maybe new to this chart, I'm just going to touch on it briefly. We'll change it actually to the weekly. This is the US dollar index chart. Basically what it is, it's taking our currency in the United States, which is the dollar, and putting it up against a basket of some other currencies, things like the yen and the euro, so forth, and just what is its strength against them? Is it outperforming them or underperforming them, essentially? And just like a regular chart, you have your up and your down based on how it's doing against those currencies. However, unlike a regular chart, the way we typically view this chart is up is bad for stocks and crypto in general, and down is good. Up is bad because if the dollar is getting more strength, it means people are more likely putting their money back into their dollars. not so much into investments or places where they can't get to it. You know, it's not always just investing. There's other things, people, savings accounts or bonds or things of that nature, right, that they could be putting their money in. But more or less, if they're, you know, if you're pulling your money out of crypto or out of stocks or out of whatever you're pulling it out of and you're putting it back into your pocket, then that's going to, you know, if the majority of people are doing that across the world, or, you know, the United States or across the world that uses the dollar anyway, then that's going to be going up. And it's generally looked at as an inverse correlation to stocks. Not always true. I did chart this out at one point, and at least for the past, we'll call it 2017 and on, where we're showing that when this is trending up over a long period of time, when I say long period, I mean this is 2017 December until like February of 2020. So we had several years there. And of course, while that was trending up, it literally correlated with a bear market. So again, reverse correlation. When this was going down and found, you know, once it found its temporary top, local top, this was more or less a good time to be back in stocks. And then again, from this little bottom here, you can see if I zoom in, we'll zoom in a little further for you guys. This is actually another little TA thing for you, but we were talking about the double top that Bitcoin's potentially putting in. You look here at the DXY, and of course back here from 2021 January until 2021 May, you had the DXY bounce in the same area twice. Eventually it broke above and flipped to that little temporary area of resistance as support, and then that began another bear market. So this is just a chart that I like to, I don't use it to day-to-day trade. I think you'd be foolish to. There may be people that do, I don't know, but I've never found it to be that useful. Even on a daily, it's not super useful to me. If things are overall bullish, they'll probably stay that way regardless of this chart, but I do like to look at it kind of on a weekly, and maybe a little bit on the daily, just to see, okay, what direction does it look like it wants to go? Because that could, you know, have an impact on stocks like we talked about, reverse correlation. And so you look at this and it's in its own little range, right? Where it's basically been hanging out. It's dipped below it once here, you know, but this, you see this little area back here, it bounced. So we can call that kind of a, this might be your upper zone, and you kind of have your lower zone. And so the question is, do we see a rejection here? We already did, and this was a slightly lower high than over here. Sorry for all my scribbles. But anyway, if you can kind of decipher through the kindergarten drawing here, this could be considered on the weekly chart something that maybe this comes back down here. And if it does, there's a very good chance that that could correlate with, you know, this maybe hitting this resistance and going higher, something like that. But this also could just put in, you know, we had a low here, higher low. Is this gonna be another higher low and eventually break out of this? If we break out of this and head up, you know, then I would think that would probably line up with a bigger pullback in all of the markets, not just crypto, but just all of the markets. And maybe we see kind of a bigger pullback down to lower supports and kind of a delay in the overall bull run, right? Which could be right in line with the timing anyways, because typically we look at crypto to rally in its 4-year cycle, probably towards the middle and end of next year, right? So we'll see what it does. I just wanted to mention that chart, kind of what it is for those of you that are new to it. If you do look at charts on TradingView from time to time, but maybe this isn't one that you ever look at, add it to your favorites, I guess, and maybe just draw some general, super simple lines of support, lines of resistance, and just keep an eye on it. I mean, again, I don't use it to day trade, and I don't really think you should either. And maybe someone's cracked a secret in it, but definitely not me. Okay, so I'm going to catch up real quick with what some of the chat's saying here. I did ask Joe a question. He replied about if he messes up his charts. I often do it on purpose. I clear my charts every few days so I can have a fresh thought process. And that's a good idea. I like that idea. Maybe I don't do it on purpose, but maybe, what do they say, like how sometimes things are happening subliminally or something? Maybe I'm sending myself subliminal messages that I need to do that. And if I keep it the same, I begin to create biases. And that's good advice right there for anybody. You don't want to have, biases. I try when I give my TA2 on these streams and my channel, hopefully to come across like I don't have a bias. Maybe it comes across like I just have no clue, but the truth is most of us have no clue what it's going to do. We're just keeping an eye on key areas and not having a bias and just waiting to see what it does, right? Then you got Rigo says, good idea. I'm too afraid of meme coins, says Joe. I am too busy to keep an eye on them, and I buy and hope they pump, but everyone I have bought, I have lost 99%. Well, I hope you're not putting very much money into these. I'm guessing you're just doing small amounts and hoping for a moon bag on one of them. I haven't messed with them yet. Rigo likes to bring them up here and there anyways in our Telegram group. And to be honest with you, I just haven't really messed with any of them yet. I have a few that I'm eyeing that are bigger cap ones, like Whiff, Dog with Hat. I feel like that one has some potential to do some Doge-like things this bull run, and maybe a little less risky than like the Trump coins or some of those. And then we just got some, Rigo says, yeah, it's the most extreme meme coins is a crazy world. Well, it is too, because last bull run it was all the gaming stuff. But that seemed, and NFTs actually, NFTs is what I would think was kind of like the weird thing that was new last bull run. But it still felt a little more legit in my opinion, even though I didn't really buy into them personally. They felt more legit than meme coins do. It's kind of frustrating that so much money is being allocated to basically these scam coins, in my opinion. 99% of them are scam coins. And at least only 98% of the rest of crypto scams, right? So meme coins are taking it to the extreme. All right, we're going to hop over now to topic number 2. Let's see here. I believe we can do that. Nope, we don't want that. We don't want that. There we go. CPI and job reports. We're kind of learning my little transitions here. So CPI and job report. Let's hop over here. I had some stuff prepared here. The first thing I want to do, since I don't keep up real well with what's going on when I'm working full time, I have a screenshot here of something that I found online. It says, or I take that back. This was one of the guys in our Telegram group actually posted this. So he clearly had paid attention to what was going on. So shout out, it's Coins. Actually, I won't say his name in case he doesn't want me to, but if he shows up at chat at some point, he can take credit for this. But this is what he typed in group. So I just screenshotted it. It says CPI core price index dropped to 3.3 from 3.4 from April. Interest rates stayed unchanged, which that was the big one. I mentioned on my last stream that I didn't believe they would be cutting them yet. I figured one maybe towards the end of the year. It sounds like as we read on with this, that basically gets confirmed. It says a possible of a 1 cut by the end of the year. So apparently that came across as a little bearish. It was a mixed bag, it says, because a lot of people were hoping for 2 to 3. I wouldn't have actually thought that was realistic personally. I'm still not entirely sure they'll do one, but if they're saying they will, then they probably will. But they'll push it as far as they can because that's just how they work. It says, will be interesting how investors feel overnight and mainly tomorrow. Market is doing so good, and he's right. We just looked at it. This S&P 500, despite a lot of people being maybe bearish on the economy still as a whole, for some reason, well, not some reason, but for many reasons, the stock market is still performing well. So if you're these guys that make these decisions for the Federal Reserve and stuff, you're going to be looking at that as why would we make a rate cut if we don't need to? I think they're not always thinking about the little guy that's being affected the most by these prices of things, because even I feel like I fall in that category where the prices of things just don't seem to line up quite with what our wages are. But as far as these bigger people that have apparently millions of dollars and they're still feeling comfortable with their millions of dollars, they're still investing. And so the FOMC, the feds, they're just looking at it as, hey, why rush these things? So we could expect probably one towards the end of the year. We'll read the last thing he said here. Average people are suffering. I guess that's what I was just saying. Alts got some relief today, and so anyhow, that was basically what that was about. And I typed into Google just so I could give you guys the actual definition rather than me butchering it. But we're going to talk a little bit about CPI. So CPI, Consumer Price Index, it says is a measure of the average change over time in the prices paid by urban consumers for a market basket, I believe it says, of goods if I were to click on it. And so this is the one that really gives you an idea of kind of how inflation's doing, being that if you go to the store, for example, this would be like kind of the simplest example. If you go to the store to buy food, what are the prices? What are you paying as the consumer for your goods? And food's obviously one of many, many, many goods, but it's one of the big ones that we need to survive. So what are we paying, now versus what we were paying last year for food? what will we be paying, in 3 months versus today? And that kind of gives you an idea of how inflation's doing, because if prices are going up, then, inflation's going up. Prices are coming down, then inflation's coming down. So there's that one. The PPI is not as good of a gauge from my understanding for how the economy is doing, but it's the producer price index. This would be the middle guy. So, the people that produce the food or produce your goods that you will buy, the things that you take off the shelf, obviously were produced somewhere, and that what are they paying for the production costs? Like if you're buying lumber, for example, obviously the place that milled the lumber and all that, or so, what was is it costing them more to make it? Because if it's costing them more to make it, if prices haven't gone up yet, well, there's a good chance that that's exactly what's going to happen, maybe by the next report, because, that's just how it works. The prices of making something goes up, the prices of, buying it later on the shelf or whatever is going to also go up. So, let's see here. One more. I'm going to really quickly just check and see if anything interesting is happening in chat. Joe did answer that he had small amounts in meme coins, but have lost on every one. Again, we won't mention the name of the group we both came from, but I feel like these meme coins remind me of that group's gem picks. I don't know. I think I don't see Patel here today, but he would definitely be able to agree with that. So the group that we used to be a part of was, a lot of good things were out of that group. So that's why I won't mention the name or, bash on anything, anyone, I should say. But one of the things that would happen in that group was he would do gem picks, and it would always be these super, super, super tiny cap coins that, he would mention in a YouTube video to several 100,000 subscribers, and they would pump and dump, right? Because if you have a lot of people that are subscribing to you and it's a small coin, it doesn't take much money to move them. And so I fell victim. I tried to trade those. I was even an admin in that group at one point, but I don't know if any of the admins were in the know. I definitely was not. And so anyhow, it's very possible to trade coins like that for me. I haven't had success. I don't do well with the whole trying to ride a 5-minute rally. That's just not how my trading works for me. So moving on a little bit here, when's the MK coin coming out? You know what? First, I got to figure out how the heck that works, because if I'm going to put out a coin, I only want it to be 97% a scam. I don't want 99. I don't want what most of crypto is, which is 98. I only want 97% a scam. I want to give back 3% to you guys. No, just kidding. But no, I would need to figure out, one, how you even create a coin. 2, how do you come up with your tokenomics for it, and how does that all done? And let's see, I would get on average 30 to 40 DMs every day right after the gem pick videos would be released talking about, yeah, exactly. There probably weren't positive messages, maybe 1 or 2 people, but the percentage of people that were getting ripped off on those gem picks, I never thought that was a good idea. It kind of took the validity of that group and shot it out the window for me. So, but anyway, MK coin, we'll just say to be announced. TBA on the MK coin. That would be a cool name for a coin. Crypto's bad, okay? So the other thing that came out yesterday, or it might have been the day before, again, I can't quite remember. I feel like it was just yesterday, though. But it was the job report. I believe they call it like the employment status, something or other is like the official name of it. I guess right here, employment situation summary is what they actually call it. I don't know if you can actually see that on my screen, because let's see. Let's try to zoom that in a little bit. Employment situation summary. And so this is just going over basically more or less unemployment, right? Across a lot. They break it down like super, super in depth. If you read this, they go over all sorts of different industries of work and so on. And we won't talk about that and bore you, but there's a lot more to it than that. But one thing I found online that I think was a little more useful, that's just for us layman people that want to just get maybe a pulse on how employment's doing. You have this, it's a bls.gov, and they have a chart. And I like charts, right? We're TA people. We like looking at charts. It says civilian unemployment rate seasonally adjusted, and it's just showing basically dating back to 2004 what the unemployment rate was. And so you can kind of take your cursor across here. Sorry, my head's in the way. There you go. And it will show you, for example, May 2010, it got as high as 10%. I guess you guys can probably guess the old C word. And that caused this particular spike, which was the largest one since 2004. And yeah, so there's that one up all the way to 15%. So really, when you look at it, where unemployment is right now, I don't feel like that's bearish. 4%, it's pretty low. We've been hanging out. Now, I don't know if this is consolidating, you know, like a Bitcoin does. We're going to have a breakout of unemployment, but this isn't, you know, a chart you trade, obviously. Otherwise, you would have known this giant falling wedge here was going to break out and go to the moon, and you would have sold everything, right? You would have predicted COVID based on this chart. Well, we're not going to pretend that we could do that. So now we're going to move on over. Let's get our next topic up. This is the Fear and Greed Index. I'm only going to touch briefly on this just because I thought of it last night. And it was a chart I used to look at maybe once a week or at least once a month. And I haven't looked at it for probably a year. So I think I just more or less, because I reminded myself of it, I wanted to kind of show you guys what it is. And, you know, you can check it out too. So this is the crypto specific. Crypto Fear and Greed Index is based on volatility, it says. Let me zoom that in a little bit so you can see. Hold on. Okay, there you go. Oops. Bring that back out just a little bit. Fear and Greed Index is based on volatility, social media sentiment, surveys, market momentum, and more. So now Rigo in chat brought up a little while ago about if Bitcoin drops below 60K, that everybody on Twitter and everybody's gonna freak out. People are gonna be running in the streets, starting fires, you know, things gonna go crazy, right? Pure mayhem is what he's basically getting at, virtually anyway. I'm not hopefully people aren't really running in the streets, but virtually they will be. And we're in a virtual world now. So this is an actual index or a little indicator that shows you that based on a lot of things. And I believe I had pulled up how it does it. Let me see if this is it here. Yeah, this might be the one. Yeah, it actually tells you on here kind of how this metric works. Let me find where it says it. It says this metric. I won't read it to you. It's really not that important, honestly, because since I didn't actually highlight it, I don't want to spend 3 minutes trying to find it. But it uses a bunch of things, and a lot of it is related to things like Twitter and social media. And I just find that interesting because when I used to use this chart, I really didn't know exactly how they were calculating it, but you could find it on 7 different sites and it'd be the same number almost. So I'm like, okay, they're clearly all using the same criteria, and it's interesting to me. So I did want to point out, though, I believe it would have been that one back up here. You can kind of see, you know, we're at a 70 right now. And, you know, it means we're in greed. It just means that, and it can stay in greed for a long time. You know, extreme greed, it can even stay in for a long time. It's bullish in that it's not extreme greed yet, but what would be awesome for lower prices would actually be a flush out in the market and for us to go back and at least to neutral. And I'd like to see fear again. Fear, and especially extreme fear, but you don't usually see extreme fear during the bull market. This is going to be like after crypto tops and retraces 90% of your altcoins have retraced 90%, you know, for 3, 4, 5, 6 months straight, it's going down. Bottom of the bear market, you're going to see extreme fear. And then as it consolidates, it slowly works its way up. So, but what we could see in the middle of this whole bull run would at least be something back in the fear area. And that's kind of a gauge. This is one of many things you can use to decide, hey, maybe it's a good time to buy. So again, we're greedy right now. Doesn't mean it's a bad time to buy if you have a good outlook on, you know, to the full bull run. But maybe you pull this chart up, add it to your arsenal of things to look at, and wait for it to come back a little bit. Wait to see. And then if it gets to extreme greed before it comes back, well, then maybe you missed the boat. But all right, so anyway, we're talked about that. The next thing I wanted to kind of go over real quick would be, Ethereum. So that was just a quick one I wanted to go over. And let's take a small break here just to see how everybody's doing and if anybody has any questions or anything they want to share. Yeah, now would be the time to do it. And maybe give me some topic suggestions of things you guys would like me to talk about in future videos, future live streams, sorry. Because, you know, it helps. Really, I wanted this content's for you guys. I mean, me too, I do enjoy doing it, or otherwise I wouldn't be doing it. But at the end of the day, you know, I need people to show up to watch it. And if I'm talking about something that only interests me, then, you know, I'm going to be the only one talking to myself. I would tell everyone, if you are losing gem picks, don't buy them. Yeah. So circling back to that, that's Joe just basically saying how he would respond to the people that would blow up his inbox saying, you know, Joe, what the heck? Why does Chris post these? Oh, shoot, sorry guys, I said a name. Well, it's a pretty common name. There's a lot of people that could have that name. But anyway, why did so-and-so post these, why does he post these coins that, you know, go up 50% or 100% in 3 seconds and then drop back 4 seconds later. Yeah, so anyway, guys, I guess we'll go ahead and hop over and we'll start talking a little bit about this whole Ethereum idea. So the way that this works, let me pull up my notes so I can kind of keep myself on track here. So for those of you that missed my stream the other day, I can kind of briefly summarize again for everybody what this Google Sheets document of mine is. I won't go to all the websites and go into that in-depth of ones because I don't want to bore the majority of you that have already heard this whole spiel. But all that I did to come up with these market cap projections, which I'm basing on position ranks, is I went back to 2021, November 10th, which is when Bitcoin topped. That was basically when it hit 69-ish K, and it retraced. You know, that was the highest that it got was that day as far as the last bull run goes. And I just freeze framed it and looked across the entire top 100. I actually went all the way to 500. And what I looked at was, okay, what does each position have for a market cap? And what is that market cap make up of the overall money in crypto? So at the top of last bull run, it was roughly between like $3 and $3.04 trillion. We'll just call it 3 because that sounds easy to say and easy to use as for math purposes. And for example, you could look down here at my position number 5. I didn't write down what coins were there because that didn't really matter to me. I just wanted to know or get an idea, okay, what did number 5 use up or take up as far as that overall, percentage of the market cap? And that's what this is in orange. I've come in here and I've put all of these market cap percentages. In fact, let me really quick move my camera over to that side so I'm not right in your guys' way for that. Okay, so I went all the way through 500. Now I didn't include Bitcoin and Ethereum, so you can see my ranks start at position 3. But if we were to do Ethereum, which is what we're gonna do for this demonstration, is the first thing we would need to do is come up with what we think Ethereum's dominance is gonna be. So we're gonna hop over here to the Ethereum dominance chart. Now, I've talked about the Bitcoin dominance chart on many occasions in my videos, and even once, I believe, on either the last or the previous before that's live stream. But what these charts are, for those of you that haven't seen them before, is they're just telling you that out of the overall money in crypto, how much of a percentage that is occupied by said coin, in this case, Ethereum, right? I don't believe there's dominance charts for like every coin. If there is, I don't know how much you should get out of them, but definitely Bitcoin, that's a good one to use. It kind of helps you gauge whether or not we're potentially entering an alt season, as people call them. Ethereum, I don't ever use this chart to trade, but you could also use it for that same reason because a lot of people in the crypto space do, subscribe to the idea that if Ethereum is outperforming Bitcoin, or at least if Ethereum's strong, that may be a sign that the alts are, possibly an alt season's coming, or at least alts are doing well, right? Because Ethereum is the biggest altcoin, and so the other altcoins tend to follow Ethereum. If Ethereum is struggling versus Bitcoin, and there's another chart for that, but I won't bring it up in today's live stream, but there is another chart you can look up where you just see how Ethereum's doing versus Bitcoin. You just type in ETH BTC in your trading view, and you can see, okay, is it outperforming it or underperforming it? And that could give you an idea of whether or not altcoins as a whole are looking good, right? Because if Bitcoin's got all the attention, which is what it means when it's going, skyrocketing in percent of dominance, then, you're better off being in Bitcoin than altcoins. So that being said, what I looked at on this chart for today's live stream example is what was its actual dominance at the end of the bull runs, right? So this very last bull run, which was 2021, like I said, if I hover my mouse over this, you won't be able to see it. I apologize. I would have to zoom in a little more, but it's showing that it was actually around 20% when Bitcoin topped on November 10th. Hold on. We're actually on the 11th here somehow. Let me zoom this in a little bit better for you so I can actually click on the right thing here. So on November 10th, if I can get my mouse on the 10th, it was at 19.85%. And I do believe I actually calculated the one before that. Now, I do think it's hard to take these numbers from like 2017, and especially if you try to go back to like 2013 or something like that. These things have just changed too much. But that being said, the top of 2017, Ethereum dominance was at only 13%. So from that bull run to the previous one that we just experienced back in 2021, or at least the top was in 2021, Ethereum dominance actually went up. Now, will that trend continue or will it stay similar? That's yet to be seen. But right now, you know, it's at 17.65%. I also want to point out that when Bitcoin put in its high, which is this most recent high, and it's actually its all-time high now at the moment, was done on this yellow line here. Well, Ethereum dominance was sitting at about 18%, a little over. So I figured, hey, that could be kind of a good gauge. If Bitcoin was hitting an all-time high and all of the attention was in Bitcoin, well then, what was Ethereum at then? Because that gives us an idea of maybe what to expect if and when Bitcoin breaks 74K, right? And it goes to 100 hopefully, or 115, or whatever price targets you or I have. If Ethereum did that on that one, maybe that's about what it will be at. So for my formula today, that's the percentage that I'm going to use is 18.5%. So the first thing you have to do, and we'll just start out with what the work I've already put in for this, but here I used a Bitcoin dominance of 47.5% to come up with these market caps. Now, I did speak in my last live stream going over this whole chart that's actually on the way safe side, in my opinion. It doesn't mean it might not be higher than that, actually, but because last bull run was only like 43% when it peaked, you know, I don't know why necessarily that even with the ETFs and stuff that we're going to be higher than that. But just to be safe and make sure that my projections and my videos I was putting out were very realistic, that's what I went with. And that's how I calculated these different market totals, right? Which are the green numbers here. Calculating that if Bitcoin hits 91K, that we might have around $3.816 trillion in all of crypto. So let's just go with, you guys pick, somebody let me know maybe what Bitcoin price. I know the last video I think we did 115 or something like that, but we're gonna pick one of these. My personal price projection for Bitcoin is around 115. That's just, you know, I have a video I put out about that to summarize one of the ideas of the few ideas that I put into that video. We basically 3x from top to top from the 2017 to 2021. We went from, you know, basically just under 20K to, you know, 60. It was a little over a 3x anyway, but it was, we'll just call it a 3x, right? 20 to 60. Well, I don't believe that we're going to do that again, personally. Some people have price projections of 200,000+. To me, that's unrealistic, but it'd be awesome if it happens, and I'd love to be wrong if it does. I was thinking, okay, we 3x the last bull run, something like a, you know, 2x, 1.5 to 2x would make more sense to me for this one. But that will be determined as time goes and how much of a, you know, rally we can get come, in my opinion, next year. Who gets elected as president will make a difference, in my opinion. You know, how will stocks be doing and all that. But I would, looks like nobody has anything new to say in chat, so we'll just go ahead and all pick 115. 115,000 will be what I will take as the number, because that is my own personal projection. So we're going to use this website that I showed you guys the other day, which is just a calculator.net. So that's 4.823 trillion. Looks like I was already doing some math. So if you type in 4.823 trillion, bunch of zeros for trillion, right? I've already typed in what is 18.5% of that. And that's going to give us a calculation of a market cap. This isn't giving us the price for Ethereum. This is the next step in the whole idea of this formula, is you get yourself a market cap projection based on that percentage of the overall total, right? And then we can pull up our calculator, which looks like I closed. I had it up earlier, but it's gone. So we're going to pull that up. See if we can make it big enough for you to see. Okay, so then we're going to paste that number in here, and we want to divide that by, let's see, hold on, actually. Yeah, we're going to divide that by, and we're going to go over here to Ethereum's page. We're looking at its circulating supply. Now, Ethereum's circulating supply is, you know, supposed to be deflationary. I guess it is over time. It does. This number may change a little bit based on that. Could go down a little bit, which would be more bullish. Might mean the price projection would actually be even better. But at any rate, it does show that the circulating supply right now and the total supply, you know, they're the same. And so we're going to go ahead and just take this number, which is 120. I think I actually screenshotted this for myself somewhere here. let's go ahead and screenshot it for ourselves, actually. So, circulating supply, this, we'll put this up here in the corner of the screen so I can still see it. And now we're dividing that market cap projection by 120,152,589. And that gives us a price projection for Ethereum of $7,420, basically $25, right? So again, just to kind of summarize what that would be based off, the criteria, it'd be 18.5% dominance, which means the overall total market cap of all of crypto that I have projected at 115K. And this would be 18.5% of that, right? And so that gives you that number. So if that number seems low to you at 115K, maybe it is. Maybe Ethereum's, maybe Bitcoin's dominance is less. Instead of Bitcoin occupying 47.5%, maybe it's only at 40. Maybe it actually goes down this bull run. Maybe altcoins get more attention even as Bitcoin's topping, and Ethereum. And another thing to take into account here that I didn't mention in the last video, or if I did, I don't remember mentioning it, and it's actually pretty important, that you need to understand too that altcoins are not all going to top at the same time. In fact, the majority of them, especially the bigger cap coins, a lot of the low caps might, because they all kind of just, money starts flowing into them and they're doing their thing, and then all of a sudden Bitcoin goes and they go too. But Ethereum, for example, for sure did not top at the same time. If we look at its chart, let me pull back up this. If we look at Ethereum's chart and we go back to November 10th of 2021, right? Let's find that again. So this is, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it did top at the same time. I thought it didn't. Maybe it was maybe it was the bull run prior then. But so Ethereum, it looks like topped on November 10th of 2021. So Ethereum hit $4,400. Let's see, $4,800.65. But a lot of the altcoins you'll look at will have a different day. They'll top, like Litecoin, for example, did not top the same day Bitcoin did. DOT, I don't believe did. A lot of them just don't. So keep that in mind. That's actually bullish in a sense. It could mean that it has its own day in the sun, more money flows into it, and it actually goes to a higher price. But I think that's a good starting place. And you could take this. Let's go back over here one last time. Actually, you can take. Sorry, like and subscribe. I didn't even mean to hit that, so apologize, guys. But it is a good reminder. Smash the like, subscribe, do all that fancy stuff for me. I do appreciate it, of course, as always. But if we hop back over here one last time to my chart, my little price projection chart, keep in mind that these are all based on them all topping right when Bitcoin does. So like I said, to kind of further just go along with that idea, is that some of these coins might actually go just barely higher. Maybe they have their little moment while Bitcoin's rallying up, and let's just say I have them projected to end at position 8. Well, maybe they rally to position 6 briefly, or maybe a coin that we're projecting at position 35 to end at 35, because I'm going to put out my top 100 list here in the next week or two. I've still been kind of working on it and finalizing it, so that's something to look forward to, is my top 100 list, which is ever changing. But I might have a coin projected to end 35. Doesn't mean that I don't think it couldn't go to number 30, for example. And then in some of these projections, that's a big difference. It could be another 10 to 15%. But again, I just want to keep the projections on the safer side. So, you know what? We're going to go ahead and hop back over here to my pretty face. And I just wanted to tell you guys, thank you so much for showing up to the stream. I hope it went okay for you guys. And I hope you're having an amazing weekend. Before I do, sign out and go get my baby from daycare, let me know if you guys have any comments, questions. Was the volume okay today? Nobody said anything. I love the little emojis you put up there, Joe. I don't know, something about an emoji just always makes you feel good. You're like, yes. Well, I mean, unless it's like a turd. Unless you're putting a bunch of turds up there, then maybe I wouldn't feel so good. But volume was good. Awesome. I did actually take some of your advice, Joe, on the microphone stuff. One thing I will mention to you guys, I don't know if you've picked up on it, if you have good ears, or if you're my age and your ears aren't the best, but I actually play a game with some buddies on the weekend. I actually play like Call of Duty, a little bit of Fortnite, even though that's a child's game, but I do play it. But they make fun of me because I still sit in a rickety folding chair. I don't know why, I just always have, but I'm sure when I move around, you guys hear that, and so I need to get a nice chair, like a gaming chair, or at least a nice office chair. So that's on the list of things to do because, yeah, you guys don't need to be hearing me squeak every time I move, right? Like there's a mouse in the room or something. So again, guys, thank you so much. On the way out, do me a huge favor, like, subscribe. I will be putting out an actual official like schedule here in the next day or two on Twitter. If you join the Telegram group, of course, I'll have it pinned in there of my stream. But tentatively, just for those of you that are still here watching, we're planning on the days that are going to be for sure, barring something, you know, happening with my baby or, you know, family in town or something, is going to be Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. See what I did there? If you're a Godfather fan. So Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern time. Those will be roughly like this one and the last one, around an hour. You know, I do rant, so sometimes they could go barely over. Sometimes they'll be barely under, but for the most part, expect Monday, Tuesday, Thursday to be 6 p.m. Eastern time, 1 hour long streams. We're going to do probably every other Friday. I might try to do every Friday, but I don't want to commit to that just yet. But those ones are actually going to be every other Friday. I'll be able to do that same time. 6 p.m. Eastern time for an hour. And then the other Fridays that are opposite of those will be an evening one. That's the only time I'll do an evening one, but I'll do what I'll call like a nightcap, we'll call it, I guess. Maybe I'll even have a drink or something, you know. I'm mature enough to have a drink, so we can have a little drink and discuss crypto. That one will be, I got to do the math on the time real quick, 10 p.m. Eastern time, so kind of late for some of the people that do actually live there. That would only be 8 o'clock my time, but that's what time I plan on doing those. And so that's going to be my schedule. I'll get it out. And as always, leave comments on any topics you want me to cover in future live streams and or videos. Other than that, you have yourselves a good rest of your day. And let me find my cool thing to click on my way out. Eventually, I will put this to a hotkey. But remember, guys, invest in yourself.